Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. Today we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful exploration of the music called klezmer. If you don't know what klezmer is, you certainly will know about it by the time we're finished. My guest today is Harold Zaletsky, who is a clarinetist and a wonderful musician, and also the music director and composer of a new show, now starting previews at the American Jewish Theater, and it's called Hot Klezmer, Tracing the History of Klezmer. Harold, I'm delighted that you came here today, and maybe we ought to start right from the beginning. What is klezmer?
Klezmer music is actually Jewish music. That's really essentially what it is. It's really Jewish music. And there's so many debates about what is Jewish music, but klezmer is without a question Jewish music. And the reason why they gave it the term klezmer is because it originally meant banging on pots. So therefore, in the villages, since they had no instruments and anything else like that, they would just make any kind of sound that they wanted, and they were like street musicians. That's basically, as a matter of fact, they were regarded as the lowest part of the society, so that if you had a daughter and she said she was going to marry a klezmer musician, that was already a disaster of the first order, right?
So it was just a banging on pots. So when did
it was more than that, actually. But I mean, it was essentially non-singing. That's why this whole thing. And there was a differentiation between singing and instrumental playing. And singing was basically a very religious kind of thing, while this was very, very secular. So they had to make music in any way possible. So they created their own instruments. The original instruments were shepherds would play in the fields, and they had their like little flutes and the little things that they kind of carved out by themselves. And whatever could make a sound made music. Little by little, they became a little more sophisticated.
Today it's becoming very popular, isn't it?
It's great today. Today it's marvelous.
The Hot Klezmer is going to trace the evolution of klezmer music. Is that the way?
That's the storyline. The storyline basically is that it gives a feeling of what Jewish music was originally when it was in the desert, when before 2,000 years ago, with only the kind of ancient instruments. Then the next thing goes into the shtetl, and with a transition into this, where the instruments become a little bit more sophisticated. The music becomes a little bit more familiar to what we're accustomed to. And then it goes into Sephardic music, kind of traces the thing, and goes into the Yiddish theater. Then we have a little bit with the swing, because you remember actually in the 1940s, Benny Goodman did a whole lot of things with Jewish tunes.
Right.
And then it goes into what is today really contemporary kind of klezmer, which is really with a whole rock rhythm. And that's...
It's as people can see, you brought your clarinet with you, and we're going to treat to some real klezmer music. Are there different types of klezmer music, different types of rhythms in klezmer music?
Well, there are different rhythms. The rhythms are a little bit more simple than jazz, and a little bit more simple than Bulgarian music, but it's developed its own style. There's a Jewish beat that is very, very indicative of Jewish music, the Jewish freilach, and that is dan da dan da dan 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 dan, and then there's the and then there's 3/4 dan dan dan. But so it's a very compared to jazz or compared to Bulgarian music, the rhythms are much less complicated.
A lot of improvisation going on.
But it's a lot of improvisation, and that for me is that's very important. That's one of the reasons why I really got involved, because it gives me the opportunity to feel that I'm creating a spiritual experience for myself through the clarinet, which I think is one of the few instruments that can really do this, and the audience at the same time.
And your group is the West End Klezmorim, And that group, of course, is at Hot Klezmer. And
only some of the musicians.
Some of the musicians,
because there were many requirements that we couldn't fulfill with the players.
You're musical director. You've done some composing for it, but you've been composing for many years, haven't you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, klezmer music or playing clarinet is really a comparatively new thing for me. I mean, comparatively new. It's I guess it's about 5 years that I've been doing it. But up until then, I really spent my life really writing serious music, and commercials.
But klezmer has heart, and I think we've held off long enough. Why don't we just give our viewers an example of what klezmer music is? Why don't you stand up and take your clarinet and play a little klezmer for us? Perhaps you stand up and do it, and you're in for a treat. Just beautiful. I get the feeling that you're speaking through your clarinet, and that it's an extension of voice, really. Do you have that feeling when you're playing that you're speaking through your clarinet?
Well, I'm speaking by. It's obviously my voice is not really synonymous with the clarinet, but the feeling that the instrument gives me is to be, in some ways, more expressive than I would ordinarily with words or anything else like that. And in the show, something that I really had just recently discovered, as a matter of fact, and that's my own inadequacies, is we have a thing that's like a Hasidic thing in the shtetl. So we made a little kind of a little routine.
I keep hearing Fiddler on the Roof when you talk about the shtetl, and there's some klezmer feeling in that.
There was some wonderful things.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
But what I did is I put it together with die, and I knew that Hasidic music basically has always syllables like oy, 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 die, tigga. And I found out why that is. And the reason is that when Hasids make music, the feeling is that if they use words, it will not go to heaven. It's only sounds that have no meaning with earth that will actually be a gateway to heaven. And So I was very impressed, and that's why it gets into such a frenzy. It gets into such a marvelous way, and we have a little routine of that in the show itself.
Sounds like the kind of a show that would not only be great for adults, not only Jewish people, but bring this cultural music to others as well. But kids would love this. It seems to me, and there's so much of a trend today of seeking roots and heritage and so on. It's a great place for people to take. It's the kind of one of the rare shows that you could take children to these days.
Oh, that's right. There are no expletives in this particular show. As a matter of fact, there are no words in this show. The whole thing is music from top to bottom. And I think it's exciting enough to really hold the audience and make them feel that they've come out with really just a wonderful kind of experience.
It's the noise funk of the Jewish generation, right? And bringing the music. You talked about improvisation. Now, when you just played, was that improvising?
Yes, that was totally improvising.
I mean, there's no melody or no familiar tune in that.
No.
It's just whatever you're feeling at the moment.
Right.
And what does a musician improvising do? Is he a step ahead of himself all the time, or is it just coming out at the moment that it comes out?
It's pretty much, it's. I guess it's like a computer situation. You play a phrase, and then you listen to that phrase, and then you develop in your head some idea of how that phrase can follow. But that's all made up right at that particular moment. At the instant
that you're playing it, you're making it up as you go along.
In other words, if I play, so now I think, now what can come next? That's one.
You're like thinking a step ahead of yourself all the time. You're like a step ahead.
But it falls instantaneous practically into these kinds of
klezmer music danceable?
Oh yeah. That's the most wonderful part of it, is that it really makes people clap. The whole thing of the clapping and the dancing, it's a very free kind of situation.
Is it the rhythm or of course the clarinet is so basically, is there such a thing as a klezmer group without a clarinet?
I don't know. There must be.
But generally not.
Generally, the clarinet is generally the logo of a klezmer group. It generally actually is. So it's when you measure the steps of klezmer music, you measure them by clarinet players practically.
Really?
At a certain time, this guy was famous, and this time was famous.
They're all clarinet players.
Well, most of the clarinet players, they're like the milestones in the whole musical career.
I do want to remind our viewers that we're talking today about, Harold Zaletsky is my guest, and he's the musical director for a wonderful show starting previews at the American Jewish Theater. It's called Hot Klezmer, and it's all about klezmer music. And Harold Zaletsky, who is one of the outstanding klezmer clarinetists certainly in this area, if not in the country, is my guest today. And we're learning all about klezmer and getting a little sample as well. I think klezmer got a tremendous boost when Itzhak Perlman appeared and did some recordings of klezmer music on television on Channel 13 and PBS, right? That kind of brought it all to the fore. But of course, here's a serious musician, as you are. You've played clarinet at symphony orchestras. You've played at Carnegie Hall. I mean, you've been playing clarinet for a long, long time.
I played clarinet when I was young, and I stopped it as soon as I started writing music for money. And I didn't play the instrument for about 30 years.
Really?
And then when this thing came on, when my wife suggested, she had seen something on 13 at that time, and she suggested actually that it could be a very funny thing to do, or a very nice thing to do. So I became intrigued with the idea, and I called up people that I employed, people like Don Butterfield, who was like one of the most renowned tuba players in the country. And I said to him, "Did you have any students who would like to?" He said, "No." He said, "I would like to do it." So all of a sudden, the whole stature of the formation of this group all of a sudden took on a whole new dimension, and it was very
And
good.
so you have tuba and banjo and
Tuba, banjo, accordion, and vocalist
Mary Feisinger, who I've heard many times, and she also plays keyboard. She's
right.
a wonderful singer, and I've seen you together several times, and I was so delighted to hear that you were doing Hot Klezmer, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity for you to come here and be on the program. I think we ought to play another piece, some little different rhythm maybe, and do another piece for our viewers. A familiar tune, perhaps? Or
I can do that. That's an interesting thing. I think I should really play a Freilach, something that really is
lively,
really lively, and something that's set, that we're not improvising. But I also, before I do that, the star of the show, or when I say the star, one of the important people in the show is Hal Jeffrin. And he's a magnificent singer. And then when I put him together with Mary, and we have an Israeli singer at the same time, there's some wonderful singing that takes part in the show, which is really, really just superb.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Anyway, here is a Freilach, a really joyous Freilach. Now, do you know why they call it a Freilach?
No.
You don't know why? I'll tell you why. Because Freilach in Jewish means joyful. Freilich is very joyful. So they took this term because it was one of the most important music at Jewish weddings. At weddings at one time, the Freilich was important because that was what everybody danced to more than anything else, right? So this is an idea of a Freilich. This is not improvised. This is a set one.
I almost got up and danced. How did you hold that note so long?
Well, I was going to hold it longer, but the thing is that...
It's only a half-hour program.
No, but also when you do it with other musicians, it becomes a much more exciting kind of thing because they take up the slack. But I had a feeling, actually, that I was all alone here. And I didn't...
How did you have the breath to hold the note that long?
Well, I go swimming, I do this.
Is it a question of physical condition to be able to do that?
I don't know.
I always wonder how a dancer and singer can do a rigorous dance number and then start singing right afterwards and have the breath to do it.
There's a whole professionalism that's involved. Dancers especially have phenomenal amounts of endurance, which is incredible.
Now that's a very lively piece, and a lot of the music is in that vein, isn't it? Very lively. But a lot of it is very serious and slow. Some of the rhythms are very, very slow, and
some of the songs are some of the wonderful songs. The Rebbe Elimelech, do you know that?
No, I don't.
You don't know the Rebbe Elimelech?
I don't know many of the songs.
In the shtetl was the most important person in the shtetl was the rabbi, right? The rabbi, they came to him for everything, for every decision. What should we have for breakfast? When can we get the Passover thing? Every question that was on people's minds in the shtetl, and the shtetl is a village. These things don't exist anymore. It actually became the ghetto where Jews basically made their isolation and their culture. But the rabbi was the most important person. And so what they did, they wrote songs about the rabbi everything that you could possibly think of his, when he ate breakfast, when he got married, when he danced, when he slept, when he lived. They have a song for the rabbi for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one song called the Rebbe Melech, which is a very traditional song, it was brought up along in the shtetl. And it's about the rabbi Eli, in English it would be Eli the king. Eli Melech would be Eli the king.
Uh-huh.
And it's a Purim song, and it's a song basically on the fact that at a certain point he kind of drinks a lot of hot juice and becomes a little bit more Freilidic, right? And every time he becomes more Freilidic, he asks for some other musicians to come and to play with him. It's like an old kid. Let me play just a little bit of it for you.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Love to hear it. That's great. Very happy tone. And it is, I have heard that before.
Sure,
I just didn't know it by name. What do you think is going to happen with klezmer? You say that it's grown tremendously in the past
It's
several
going to
years.
change. It's going to change.
But it's so traditional. How can it change? Or it is changing, you say?
It's changing already. It's changing because musicians, especially now that it's becoming economically feasible to get involved in these things, musicians have a desire basically always to expand their horizons. And in order to do that, at this particular time, they're taking on a lot of the sophistication that this culture, the American culture, has to offer. And they're integrating jazz into it. They're integrating some avant-garde feelings into it. So it's going through a whole change. Where it's going to come out, we don't know. And there are always a group of people who refuse to do anything else except what is mostly traditional and what they have really kind of known as klezmer music. There's always that kind of group. But I think basically it has to change. The songs are written for it.
The instruments themselves, I mean, your basic group, you described the instruments, but I've heard violins playing, right. You have tuba playing the bass notes, and certainly the bass. Electronic instruments?
Well, now they're bringing electronic.
They are bringing electronic into it.
Well, first of all, because Israeli music and is all now electronic. I mean, all Israeli music is totally electronic.
Is klezmer very popular in Israel today?
What's most popular in Israel today is not klezmer, although, I mean, there are a lot of klezmer festivals and so on, but essentially speaking, the thing that's really most popular Israeli things, which are really indicative of what they call Europop. And there's a whole style of music that's based on electronics and that isn't part of the acoustic sound.
Isn't there a klezmer convention that takes place in the United States, in the Catskills?
Oh yeah, there's the place is Klez Camp.
Klez Camp, they call it. Yeah,
right.
where klezmer musicians get together and...
Well, that isn't really that kind of thing. It's really basically a very private situation. A lot of the people basically who are friends with the people who run it, they are up there. They have a core of people who run it, but what they do is they have it open to the public, and people who want to come can study and do the thing. They run classes and they do these.
Oh, it is. It's an educational.
Yeah, but it's not a jam session. For instance, a festival where they invite people from all the way. Anybody who wants to comes and plays. It isn't that kind of stuff.
You say that it's growing. Are there more klezmer musicians all the time?
There are millions of klezmer musicians now.
Are there young people who are coming in? You mentioned that some of the famous klezmer musicians are clarinetists. Are there more klezmer musicians with different instruments coming in?
Oh yeah. Now the whole scene is changing a great deal, and every town now has its own klezmer group. You know that every little city in Oneonta, every little city in the state, there are just tons and tons of klezmer.
I know.
musicians.
I went to a coffee house which does folk music, and they had a klezmer group there, and they had the biggest turnout that they have had in months, maybe in years.
Where was this?
In Riverdale.
In Riverdale.
In Riverdale, and apparently, what you're saying is being evidenced from their experience and everybody else's, that the klezmer is not only here, but it's here to stay and it's growing.
Well,
and the interesting thing, Harold, is that we're not here to stay because we've run out of time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm so delighted that you could come here and play for us and tell us all about klezmer and tell us about hot klezmer at the American Jewish Theater. Thanks very, very much. It's been a pleasure having you here. The name of the show is Hot Klezmer. Harold Zaletsky is music director. He and his group are there. Go see it. American Jewish Theater. Great show. I'm Norman Liss. The name of this program is The Way to Go. Until next time, enjoy yourself.